being completely honest with you all, I just cannot see for the life of me, I can't see any room for there being any meaning or purpose to human existence given an atheist view of the world.
Honestly, I feel there's only one way to respond to this, and that would be for me to say, well, I do not see how your worldview has any ultimate meaning either. I know this just might sound like subjectivist backtalk to you, but allow me to explain what I mean by this statement. First, I want to make it clear that I do understand what your point is, which is, well, I'll have you explain it since you could do it much better than I can.
My point was that I genuinely cannot see how on a naturalistic, atheistic view of the world, in which, we as humans simply are accidental consequences of socio-biological evolution, functioning in a totally mindless universe, all destined for non-existence, how there could really be any room for meaning in life.
Now, if you've seen my Why I'm an Agnostic video, you'll understand that I do not define myself as an atheist, but I do define myself as an absurdist in the Camusian sense, insofar as I believe there is no meaning, but we search for meaning anyway. So, this topic deals with me as well, even though I do not fall on either the theist or atheist side. Anyway, now I can get to explaining my earlier comment about even your worldview not really allowing for or accounting for ultimate meaning. Now, in a nutshell, the Christian worldview is there's this powerful being that existed before anything else, that always existed, that made the world, the universe, us, life, and what gives us purpose is not so much that he made us, but rather he made us for a specific purpose. And that purpose being to praise him for both while making us, and because in praising his name and spreading the word about him, we will not so much be rewarded, but rather be able to be with him for all eternity. Of course, we could go back and forth all day about how accurate my description was, but to keep it simple, let's just say, in the Christian worldview, where ultimate meaning comes from is the idea of this powerful being making us for a specific purpose. Let's reflect on this idea of meaning for a moment. Now, it seems to me that if this is your idea of meaning, you are in many ways in no better place than any atheist would be. Because, well, if you've read your Plato, you would understand that this is pretty much an instrumental understanding of what meaning is. Similar to how we would say a hammer has meaning because it's able to pound in nails or remove nails. In the sense that, well, if there's no nails or no need to pound things, the hammer all of a sudden has no meaning. Which, to your credit, on your view, you actually maintain, since you argue, if we were to able to show you conclusively that there is no God, then there would be no meaning to life or to anything. Which, ironically enough, reveals the flaw in your understanding of what meaning is. Because obviously by ultimate meaning we mean something of intrinsic value, something that has value independent of anything that's around it, independent of even the thing that made it. If it was made, it has intrinsic value. If anything, the thing was made because of this value that it had. However, with your understanding, our meaning is entirely dependent upon this more powerful thing existing. My point being, even if we want to suppose that your view is accurate and correct, God does exist, He did come down in the form of Jesus and all that wonderful stuff, the reason why we have meaning would not have anything to do with what Jesus did or with what God did. Our meaning would, if it would be explainable at that point, would have to be accounted for without any appeal to anything else other than ourselves. To try to explain what I mean, let's take Plato again. The reason why we keep his dialogues around and continue to study them has little to do with Plato and what he accomplished as a person. Like, we don't really view Plato as this wonderful, magnificent being. If anything, we might see him as a flawed being. But the reason why we keep his dialogues around is because we believe what is in them has value in and of themselves.
So look, here's what I want people to respond to then, and this is what I want help with. I find that from this, the only logically consistent view then is adopting what Bertrand Russell called the philosophy of unyielding despair.
You know, I find this understanding of atheism rather perplexing and almost kind of funny. The main reason being, if you're familiar with Kierkegaard, or I don't know how to pronounce it, I'll just call him the Guard. If you're familiar with the Guard, his entire philosophy was based off of, well, despair, and articulating what despair is, why we're in despair, and how almost we can't avoid despair. However, what's really interesting about the Guard is that, well, he was a Christian. He was arguing for the Christian viewpoint through this. And the reason why he said we are in despair and should acknowledge our despair is because we as human beings cannot reconcile being both finite and infinite, both having a physical body and having a non-material soul. So I guess my question to you would be, how come a prominent Christian thinker feels the same way about Christianity in his time, being a Christian himself, as you do about atheism? Insofar as that we should be living in despair.